Anybody know how big our industry is at a global level? You guys from yesterday should remember this. Well, yeah, there's two different categories. So if you're talking global catastrophe losses, that's everything. That's including Africa, Russia, where they don't have insured losses. That's all, I want you to look at these averages real quick. The global catastrophe losses overall in the last 10 years is 190 billion a year. But the last 30 years is 130 billion a year. So what does that tell us? The industry's growing. That's adjusted for inflation too. The 10-year average for global insured losses, and now this is different. Insured losses is where insurance companies actually pay for the loss. That's what we like in the insurance restoration industry, right? Do we like dealing with flood claims where the insurance company is not paying for and you got to deal with Mrs. Smith and there's no insurance? It's a little, now they're getting multiple bids. So global insurance losses globally are 58 billion on a 10-year average compared with 33 billion on a 30-year. So that tells us what? Insured losses are growing too, right? There were 980 loss events in 2014 compared to 920 in 2013. But again, you really got to look at the 10-year and 30-year averages. One year is not a good comparison. 10-year average stands at 830 with a 30-year average at 640. So there's more catastrophic events every year. Why is that? Anyone? Global warming? You guys watching the news lately? There's always stuff going on. A lot more than I remember 20, 30 years ago. It might also because we track it better. Maybe it's our technology that we're tracking them better. But either way, there's a propensity of increased catastrophes. 7 out of 10 costly events in the last 50 years occurred in the U.S. So we're in the global hotspot right here, guys. There's more tornadic hail activity here in the Midwest than there is anywhere in the globe. Everybody understand that? The Midwestern part of the United States has the most climatic activity consistently on an annual basis than anywhere in the globe. So you're in a good spot, for starters. 3 out of 5 of the costliest global events in 2014 involved the thunderstorm event. So insurance companies categorize things in terms of flood, fire, and they call this thing called the thunderstorm event. Okay, the thunderstorm event consists of tornadoes and hail, which is typically what damages exterior restoration, correct? And if you look at the thunderstorm event numbers, well, let me fast forward here on the last year. The thunderstorm event, which consists of tornadoes and hail, produced 12.3 billion of insured losses. The total U.S. insured losses last year was 15.3 billion. That's 80%. If you look up there, you can see winter storms, flood, flash flood, earthquakes. Well, there was no major catastrophes last year, like there wasn't a Hurricane Sandy last year. So those statistically happen every once in a while, but they throw this thing out. But consistently on an annual basis is the thunderstorm hail event, which dwarfs all other events combined. So why am I telling you all this? Well, this is interesting for investors if you're doing an IPO, but if most of you guys are insurance restoration contractors. I'm assuming most of you guys in the room are exterior and some interior, correct? Is anybody here strictly fire flood? No. So the point of the moral of the story here is if you're in the right business and the right type of company, whether you're a GC or roofer, if you're on exterior restoration, because consistently on an annual basis, you can create predictable sales volume out of this slide here. And it's 80% of all insured losses. And that's typical from every year, except when you have a large situation like Hurricane Sandy that throws us disc off. So the 22-year average for the thunderstorm and hail event, 22 years is 8.2 billion. The 10-year average is 11.5 billion. And the 5-year average is 15.7 billion. So the thunderstorm hail event is dramatically increasing in insured losses. Why is that? It's because all you guys are out there knocking doors, right? No, I'm just kidding. Well, it's an increased number of hailstorms and tornadoes, but it's also, let's be honest, it's things like MaxCon over here, storm tracking technology. We can now, I couldn't do this in 1999, we can now go on, look at a hail report, do a Google blow up, and extrapolate that over Google Earth. We could see all the houses that were hit by that 2-inch hail. We couldn't do that 10 years ago. And you could sit in North Carolina and do that, and you could see what's going on in Missouri. And go, you know what, I'm going to pass up on that one. It's out in a farm field. Back in the day, you had to fly out there and look. You didn't have Google before Google Earth, 1999. So all this technology has created, obviously, increased claims and insured losses to some extent. The insurance companies probably aren't thrilled about that, but this is America. That's what entrepreneurs do. I don't want to spend any questions on, here another slide that's important. Again, this is IPO global stuff, but from a SVG acquisition standpoint, in IPOs, obviously we're going to concentrate on companies in North America, Canada, Europe, and Australia for this reason alone. That's where your condensed insured losses are. Obviously, we're not going to be out in the Sahara Desert, knocking on huts, right? Hello, your hut blew down. And guys, I don't know if you guys watch stuff that's going on in the globe, but I was in Australia for 2 months last winter. You don't hear about a lot of hailstorms in Australia or they call them cyclones. But let me tell you, the eastern seaboard of Australia gets hit with as many hailstorms as Texas. You just don't hear about it. It's an annual occurrence. It's hailstorm city out there. But they don't have the tracking technology or the stuff that we have. They don't have Xactimate. They don't have Eagle View. They certainly don't have. They're about 20 years behind us. So there's a huge opportunity in Australia. That's why we went out there to learn. I mean, went out there. We knocked doors. We climbed on metal roofs. We met it. The adjusters don't get on roofs there. They send a preferred contractor. He realizes he's not getting the job, so he doesn't jump on a roof. He just says, "Give me your estimate," and he marks it down lower. It's a very weird system. Adjusters aren't allowed to get on roofs there. There's no Xactimate there, which these are, by the way, huge opportunities of growth to bring technologies over there because they get hit. They have a lot of storm activity over there. So it's a huge global opportunity, I think, for an IPO level, over there. And we've already proved proof of concept that we can go over there and do it, and set up shop. And so, we're also looking at other areas like Canada and Germany. Canada got hit with a record. Anybody familiar with Calgary? Was it last year? Calgary got hit with a $500,000 hailstorm. Anybody familiar? Okay, so you want to start keeping an eye on what's going on in the world. Everyone's busy in their own little cities and stuff like that, but there's a huge market out here in global insurance restoration, guys. And I don't want to get into the IPO right now, but one of the reasons of doing the IPO is to put together a group of contractors that are dispersed. A couple in Canada, a couple in Stuttgart, Germany, eastern seaboard of Australia, and 25 of them throughout the U.S., geographically dispersed. So now instead of a storm chaser, we're a storm catcher. And for all the people in a network, they can move between a network. It's all the same company. We're all sitting on, several 100,000 shares of stock. Do you really care if you're working for your own company over here when that stock price is going up? No, not really. So it's a different way of looking at the business. So when I'm talking about scaling at that level, that's kind of what Neil, some of you guys met Neil yesterday. We finally got some people in the last 2 years that understand this industry. It's, there's not a lot of people on Wall Street that think construction is sexy by any means. And it takes a long time before you get some people. You guys met that attorney that was here yesterday. You guys meet that attorney that was listed in the presentation yesterday? He's a big merger and acquisition attorney. He helped like Wayne Gretzky buy some team, and he put together he was involved with the waste management roll-up deal. So he's trying to learn. So there's people now that are starting to understand how big this industry is and how much bigger it could be if a group of us actually put our heads together and start thinking about chess instead of checkers and start making money on top of making money. And so that's what that meeting was about yesterday. And there's some mechanics, quite a bit of mechanics the next 3 to 6 months to put in place. I'm not going to talk about that here because we spent a lot of time talking about that yesterday, but for you guys that missed that, that's something that we're working on, and our goal is to launch that IPO first quarter of 2016. And some of you guys in the room here will be part of that, which will be exciting. Real quick on tornadoes, guy, average U.S. tornado season, 800 to 900 tornadoes a year. 50, 60 tornadoes could hit on a given day. And you always hear about the tornadoes in the news, right? What don't you hear about in the backside, the southwest side of the tornado? A hail. Well, the money's in the hail. The tornado creates a lot of damage, 2 or 3 blocks, kills a few people, makes CNN news. But you never hear that same night about the 20 zip codes of hail that got 2-inch hail and damaged $1 billion in property. You guys remember the Phoenix hailstorm here in 2010? It fell for 15 minutes. That's why I moved here, got a house. I chased a storm here, 2010. We did 12 million sales here. It fell for 15 minutes. 2-inch hail over the west side and a little bit over here in Scottsdale. $1 billion in damage. Put a couple insurance companies out of business. 15 minutes of hail. That's a lot. So hail, out of the thunderstorm event, the moneymaker is hail. On any given day, I don't know how many zip codes that is, guy. That's just one day, March 3rd, 2012. Anybody remember that day? Nashville? Wasn't this the day it hit Nashville too? Was that the day? So this hit, 100 zip codes. How many properties are in those zip codes? Okay, so that's massive. And the beauty of hail is, Mrs. Smith loses her house to a tornado. Does she need you knocking on her door that's not there, telling her she's getting $1 million from her insurance company? No. But when 100,000 properties get with 2-inch hail, people can't see on their roofs, right? They don't look at their gutters and their siding. And so there's a huge marketing opportunity there to put together a huge blitzkrieg and go knock those doors and sign those deals. And that's what a lot of you guys understand that already. And that's what we're going to talk about this afternoon is how to quickly, speed to market. This game's all about speed to market.